thebest3d.com, and we're going to talk about part 2 of the Mystic Vision. This time we'll put this into an animated sequence. In fact, I've loaded a animation right here that I loaded from an AVI file. You can, if you ever miss that animation controls, you can probably bring it back here somewhere, hiding under the taskbar or wherever. We can zoom in on this as well. There's a zoom magnifying glass. Probably good to show it at 100%. Move it up. That's with the shift and control key. You can drag around while the shift and control keys are down. They will move your picture around. Or you can use this hand, click and drag from there, and then that will let you move around as well. So let's say we want to just first of all just see this animation, right? So this one's not as strong in terms of contrast, no silver lining like we did in the other part. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll load another one just to show where you can load AVI files. You go to the animation menu and load AVI, that's easy. And then at that point, maybe you can switch to thumbnails so you recognize them all. There's some examples here that are showing some shrubbery in the front that are swaying in the wind as well. Let's use this one here. That one's at 256 by 256, I believe. It's squared. Oh, close enough. 199 frames, or 200 actually, starting at 0. And what you can see in this one here is that we have some nice cast shadows. And what we want to do is, learn how to do that. Now, this actually is shown in some sort of a tutorial somewhere. Let me see if I have it. If you go to the main website, actually, before we go to that main website, I want to show you another website, because I've just learned that a friend of mine, Steve Wampler, has been nominated for an ESPYS award. ESPYS, sorry, not ESPY, ESPY. And so we want to make you aware of it. There is actually an easy way to get to it if you go to thebest3d.com, thebest3d.com/Steve Wampler. Right, or if you go to the wamplerfoundation.org. So this actually will show you who Steve Wampler is. He's this guy who lives in a wheelchair, and that didn't stop him from going up on El Capitan in Yosemite. He climbed up using his arms, just pulling himself up on a rope with some sort of a structure that they built for him. Took him about 6 or 7 days. Phenomenal. Now, what you want to do is go here and sponsor this guy, right? We need your votes. We need lots of votes. So what we want is essentially for you to go check this page, and once you've determined, yep, you want to do that, you can go and, oh God, what's wrong with this website today? Hello? Okay, there you go. Click to get started. And you'll see lots of categories. You can vote once for each category, and what I would recommend you do, you go straight vote by category, and in the category of male athlete with a disability, right there, first page, our Steve Wampler. If you don't see him, because I don't know if there's maybe others coming, just look around, click on next, but that's him. Got my vote now. Recently became the first person with cerebral palsy to ascend El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. And of course, the reason why he's doing that is to raise awareness for this camp he's trying to reopen. I like to call it Camp WAMP. It's got another name. It's somewhere in Northern California, and that's where he used to go as a kid. And he wants to help kids with disabilities to go to the same camp by reopening it. So, rock on, Steve. Let's go. And I hope I get a lot of followers to do the same here. Alright, let's go and look back at the other website. So thebest3d.com, when you click on that, you can look for Dog Waffle, the main information actually. I'm not at the main page here. When you're at the main page, there you go, you can look for Dog Waffle, and I mean the overview, not any one of those particulars. So you click here, for instance, overview, and that brings you to this page we were just on. When you do that, you scroll down a little bit and you'll see what's new, what's cool. Under what's cool, you will see some interesting things in relation to the topic we're just talking about, including this one here, animated skies. Click on that. And these were actually not done with PD Howler. These were done with older versions of PD Pro. So even if you have PD Pro 4, you can do much of this. 5 definitely. Even PD Pro 3 probably has some of the features needed to do what we're about to do here. So let's get going really quickly. How do we do this? Let me close this. Don't need this browser anymore. And don't need the other one to slow us down either. Where's the other one? There. There's too much going on this poor old computer. Alright, so we want to do this cloud, and what I'll do this time is I'll get a cloud or a planet. You know what, that'll be another time. This is something I thought we'd also throw in, but it'll just be too long. Genetica 3, they just came out with 3.6. It's a great tool to create tiles of textures and patterns, and beautiful planets and stuff like that as well. Great texture generator. So we'll talk about that in conjunction with Dogwaffle. You can actually get it at coolcreativebundle.com, which includes PD Pro version 4 and includes Genetica Basic version 3. So you have a great combination of tools, and it's got a couple of other tools in that bundle. You definitely want to check that out as well. Alright, so we'll take this another time. Right now what we need is a background sky, so let's go and render the filter. There you go. Under render, sky, let's just take the defaults. And no, actually no, we need some better contrast or darker sky, clouds. There you go, something like this, so we see the darkness there. And a little bit of cloud fall off. There you go. So we get the silver lining, just a tiny bit, and a little bit larger. We change the scale, zoom factor, and let's make it fast enough there. There you go. I think that would be good. Let's go and animate that like we did last time. 1, 2, and 3. And go that. So now it's rendering by this animation that we loaded from AVI. Instead, we're now rendering into the same frame sequence a new series of clouds that are moving with this sky render. And as soon as that's done, we will go to render our Mystic Vision, but this time we'll do that across all frames. And instead of, yep, there they are. So instead of using the blur that we have here with the Mystic Vision that we would have done for a regular single image, what we'll do is we'll go to animation and select timeline. And when we are in the timeline, we will go here, look for the blur category, and here it is, Mystic Vision. Now the Mystic Vision right here. Okay. We have the Mystic Vision here somewhere. There you go. Alright, so Mystic Vision needs a center. We can indicate where the center is in this preview here. We can even have it outside of the picture. And then we can go and indicate the strength of it and the quality. But these are fairly bright. The Mystic Vision is the bright. We want the shadow vision in this case. We want the dark shadows. Right, so now we're going to get that. See how it's not very big there, but maybe the factor will increase it. There you go. Now we have a nice strong shadow. We can increase the quality. For sake of time here, I'll make it relatively draft, simple. Now, one thing that you might find, so I'll render this, but let's explain. One thing that you might find is that perhaps this is a little bit too strong a shadow, too intense. You know what I'm saying is like it's hiding, it's washing it out a little bit too much. And maybe you want just a hint of it. How would you do that? How would you make it so that it's only, giving you 20% off that intensity from this cloud? This cloud right here, for instance, is really dark. What you could do is actually put an alpha channel there, a mask that's not an on or off, not an all or nothing, but simply a mask that's some sort of a grayscale value, like 50%. What's that as an 8-bit? From 0 to 255, right? So somewhere 128. But you can also just take a gray value of some sort. And then that way it will be reducing slightly the amount of the intensity of whatever the filter is doing to it. And therefore it will not cast those rays way too dark and too opaque. But here, this one looks pretty good. Pretty proud on this one here. Now, once we've got this, we may want to also put a hint of a sunspot up there somewhere. So we'll go to the animated lens flares again. Understand it's outside of the scene, so we won't really see the center of the sun, but we'll still get a little bit of a blur showing, and it'll be perfect whenever it's kind of correlated, or it seems to be coming from the same spot as where these clouds are. One thing that we could also do is whenever the clouds appear to be moving right in front of the sun, is to reduce the intensity of the lens flares. Not of this part. This part of the clouds should remain the way it is. So now we see the animation here on the left side, and that's a pretty good start. Let's now go to the lens flares, and then we'll be pretty much done. I mean, there's many other things to explore, of course, and try adding snowfall and lots of other features and special effects. But here, what I'd like to do is perhaps add this sun here as well. So I'll put it way out there where I seem to remember it was somewhere up there. Okay, and I'll reduce the level a little bit so it's not too strong. But you still see a little bit of a rainbow halo up there, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. So let's go render that. And it's actually a good way to modulate that intensity too. I didn't do that here. Let's just show you how to do that. Stop this. Now you can see the frames it already rendered, but beyond this point here it didn't. So right here you can see that I do have the lens flare, but here it's not. I'm going to undo that. And I will now make a little bit of a more sophisticated sequence in which the lens flare initially is at pretty much the maximum I'll go for, at about 680 the value here for the level, and keyframe that. Click here, set a key, right? And perhaps across the board that'll be the reference. So set one at the end there, go to the end and click there again. So all of the values that can change are steady across all the frame sequence there. But if you want a little bit more detail here, what you can do is you can now scrub through that and say, oh, look at that, there's a cloud that's about to hit the sun here, just about here. So right here we should still see that high value, and let's keyframe that once more. But then shortly after that the sun disappears behind the cloud, so we should have a reduction in the brightness or intensity of the sun flare here. So we can bring the level down a tad bit, perhaps all the way down, yes. Okay. And you see the value drop here. Now this could be a spline interpolation like it is right now by default, or you can click here to make it a straight linear interpolation. Let's keep it a spline smooth, and then here sometime it's gonna go back up, and then as the clouds disappear it's gonna go back up altogether. Really bright now. And then perhaps there are other clouds coming in front, but just a tiny little bit. So we go here, bring it back down, do a little flicker, come back up. You get the idea. Every once in a while the intensity of the sun will dim. There's another one coming right here. Right, so here we could probably do one that kind of gradually comes, and there you go. We'll drop it down to all the way nothing, and then it comes back up. All right, let's go render that. So this is our final render, so to speak, and in this render we now have the brightness of that lens flare modulated over time. It's changing because we set a couple of keyframes, and you can see them right there. There's little red markers. If you ever need to drop or delete one of those, you just go to that particular frame position and click the remove key option here. These frames are very tight because we have 200 frames in this particular animation. You could possibly want to zoom in here, and there's an option to do that right there, the magnifying glass, plus and minus, to zoom in and zoom out to see a little bit more of the detail, and you have a scroll bar developed here. Alright, but we're pretty much done. Let's go close this and close that, and essentially we have now an animation that shows our sun in the upper right, and there's the clouds moving and they're casting shadows, and the sun is apparently hidden by the clouds because you see the sun disappear whenever the clouds come close to being in front of it. Funky music.